When I first saw this vintage photograph of Brynathan in a folder of other vintage photographs of Brynathan, I was confused. I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. I did have some idea, but I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure, that is, until Justin Odner told me that it is a photograph of a view across the back road, also known as Alden Road. He said, "Look, down in the cluster of trees is the old Don Rose residence and later the Grubb residence. And look over at the extreme left edge of the photograph. There is Heather McCurdy's house. Please notice the two dormer windows in the roof. If we swing over to the right, you can see what appears to be the railroad tracks. And if you swing back to the left, you can follow those railroad tracks all the way back to the valley. It looks like we might be able to see smoke from the smokestack of an old railroad engine. Now, if we come back to the extreme right edge of this photograph, we can see a small house. Justin's theory is that this photograph was taken from the spot on which Jennings Duran's house now sits. Could this other photograph of a view down Alden Road support Justin's theory? I think it does. Could this be the same house that we saw in the other photograph, perhaps taken at a different date? And could this photograph have been taken right from the end of that fence just before you get to that house? I think maybe. Now let's try to prove more or less where the photograph was taken from. Can you see the chimney on the right side of Heather McCurdy's house? And also, can you see how it more or less is in line with the dormer window on the left? This turned around photograph, the chimney that I was talking about, appears just to the left of the yellow push pin. And here is the dormer window in the roof that I was talking about. Now, if we draw a line from the chimney through that dormer, you'll never guess where it ends up. That's right, at Jennings Duran's house. Now, if we draw a line from Don Rose's own four walls, also known as the Grubb residence, back to the exact same spot, this is what we will see. Please understand that if we were to hold a ruler against this photograph, we would see that it is roughly 2.5 times the distance from Heather McCurdy's house to the Grubb residence as it is from the Grubb residence to the tracks to the right. Then I took the headings of those two lines as drawn from Jennings's house to both Heather McCurdy's house and the Grubb residence. The difference between those two lines was 24 degrees. Now all we have to do is take the heading of the line from Jennings's house to Don Rose's house and add 40% of 24 degrees to it. Thus, we end up with the third line to the left in this photograph. Now we have to see where it leads us. Why, it leads us right down to the railroad tracks just south of the Brynathan post office. I think it is more than likely that my math is a little bit off and that the actual spot we are seeing is right here on the tracks, closer to the post office. Now, for what might be some confirmation, please look at the diagonal line coming downhill at the extreme left of this photograph. It comes down toward Alden Road. That diagonal line would meet Alden Road to the left off the photograph. Now take a look at this 1891 map of the area that would become Brynathan. You can see the Alnwick Grove station at the bottom left. The road across the bottom of the photograph is Fetters Mill Road. You can see the road that would become Alden Road branching off of Fetters Mill Road and going diagonally up from left to right before it meets the pike. Now please take a look at the property line going vertically between the letters N and T in the word Huntingdon. Could that be the diagonal line through the grass that we saw in the photograph? That line meets Alden Road just slightly uphill from the Spring House, at the bottom of the hill where Jennings Durand lives now. Could that explain why we do not see the Spring House in the photograph? I think it might. I think we can now see that Justin Oedner's theory was correct. Oh, and another thing. Did anybody find Waldo? Does anybody else see the man working in his garden? He has a hat on and he's bending over toward us. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.